Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Battlefield Project Podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Rhoda, and we are the podcast for people that understand that life is a battle and only the strong will thrive. Thank you for joining me as I share a spotlight and kind of put a spotlight on our guests who come from every walk of life, basically to discuss with them some of the battles that they have faced in their life and what they did to overcome those challenges. Many of you and some of you are under the impression that happy, successful people live in butterfly and rainbow realities, and that's why they live the life that they live, but that is never the case. Everybody experiences some kind of battle in their life. The winners just know how to fight their way through those battles and come out on the other side. Today, I am joined by one of my good friends and also one of our clients, Oleg. I'm going to read his bio here, and then the floor is going to be his. He is a dedicated husband and father, currently owns multiple Serve Pro locations, and is excited to build his franchise empire. He's a highly collaborative, results-driven executive commercial leader who loves to empower other leaders to build stronger teams. He's fueled by passion and authenticity and has a proven track record of delivering results in complex and challenging market environments. Oleg is fluent in Russian and has a tenacious work ethic and dedication who always strives for excellence in execution. I met him probably 2 months ago, had leading up to the relationship, did a workout together, and I was like, all right, this is my kind of guy, put in the work, just all in, we are building an empire for his family, just all of our core values and align. So Oleg, thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate having you.
Absolutely, Matt. I don't know that I worked out that day much. I think I was just in awe of some of your physical strength. I was just happy to be there for the ride and glad I didn't have to compete at that point. So appreciate the introduction, and obviously it's been an incredible honor to get to know you and humbled by the opportunity to be on here today.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, so floor is yours, brother. Whatever battle you're happy to share with our audience, what battle you had, how you fought your way through it, and then I'll chime in where I need to, but I'm excited to kind of hear what you have to share.
Sure, me too. No, I appreciate it. There was my wife and I went through a really serious battle, and it was one of those things that kind of everything happened at once. It was almost 9 years ago at this time. And in a 10-day span, we were pregnant, and we had twin girls. We were pregnant twin girls, and it was a little bit of a struggle to get there to begin with. But then God and blessed us with 2 twin girls, and we were incredibly excited. And then within the 10-day span in June 2014, found out that one of the girls and one of the daughters was going to be deceased. They found a biological condition with my wife, and there was no playbook at that time. You don't really know kind of what to do, right? And so I think we were in shock. In retrospect, we should have probably had her on bed rest, but there's no playbook on kind of what to do at that time. So within a 10-day span, we found out that on June 10th, 2014, we lost a child. June 23rd, my wife was admitted to the hospital for preterm labor. And then the next day, I was laid off from my job at that point. And then 2 days later, we delivered a stillborn. And then we delivered our other daughter, who's a miracle and blessed. We're blessed for her. And who's thriving today, and she spent 54 days in the NICU. So all of that happened. It was one of those things where you kind of look up and you're wondering what else can happen. We came out through it knowing and believing that you only get what you can handle. But it was certainly the most trying personal, professional kind of combination during my time, my life, during my wife's life as well. And but we're incredibly blessed through that experience. We have a healthy, beautiful, bright, driven 8.5-year-old daughter at this point, and so we're incredibly blessed for her and our family. But it's about as tough of a time as you can go through, and for us, there was no playbook, and just kind of try to muscle it through, and luckily got through on the other side.
Wow, I had no idea. I know you have a daughter. I had no idea that you experienced that. You started to share the story, and I'm like, I have a feeling I know where he's gonna go with this, and my heart sinks, and my stomach gets in a knot, and doing my best not to shed a tear, because we have twins. I got 4 kids, and I know of people who've lost children, stillborns and all that stuff, and just the sheer pain I feel, not even having gone through that, but imagining that, it's devastating. It's hard to even articulate how much that hurts to hear that you had to go through that. how did like so what was your source of strength through that? Because I mean, just the not just but like the first phase of that, which is like you get the news that you're all like again, like I was in your boat, fortunately by the grace of God, like both of our twins came out, but like you have that whole labor and like the whole pregnancy, and you're like, this is or the whole pregnancy, you're like, there's gonna be two kids, like this is gonna
Yeah.
be like, and you're like playing all the scenarios, and you're
Yeah.
starting to see like the life with
Yeah.
like two, and then
Yeah.
that happens. Like, what gets you through that, man? Because like I can't even like I mean I'm
Yeah.
sure I'd find a way if it happened, but like I can't even fathom like how you process that and come out on the other side.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, those are really good. Those are all really good questions. I would tell you that I remember that summer vividly.
Yeah,
And if we can even look back, it was, that summer, I remember the weather being great. I remember there's like a
yeah,
summer in Philadelphia, there was no humidity. Um, I don't know that we've still fully processed it, honestly.
yeah,
And we can talk about that. And I think the impact that it's taken on my wife, who I think is stronger than me throughout even this process. Um, I would tell you it was one of those things that sort of translated to me in my business life as well, is there's really no choice. And I remember that we have to be strong for like our surviving child.
mhm,
Right. And so, I'll touch on the lack, I think, of us having time to grieve for our deceased child. And we do a lot of things now, and there's a lot of great organizations that we're certainly a part of for that. But during that time, I remember at first I was supposed to head out to a business trip to Indianapolis, and my wife calls me, and she was at her 27-week appointment for her glucose test. And this was June
mhm.
10th. And she calls me and she goes, they can't find a heartbeat.
Ugh,
And so, like, I cancel my trip. I meet her at the hospital. We go, there was a Wegmans by us where we live. We go to lunch. And I remember that entire thing. And it was like everything was in shock.
yeah,
Um, and so once that happens, and then once we go through the process, and I mean, my daughter was 2 pounds, 15 ounces born.
wow,
So like she was on tubes, and if I showed you a picture, which I will, she was black and blue when she came out. Like we had no idea what to do. I mean,
yeah,
you kind of listen to the doctors. We were very fortunate, I would say, that we got a little bit of advice. She was going to be disposed of, our deceased child, with hospital waste. And
mhm,
again, no playbook here, right? Like
yeah,
no one knows, no, everyone's moving a million miles per hour trying to. But we were fortunate. There was a funeral home by us that actually buried her with my wife's father, who actually had his 15-year anniversary where he passed yesterday. So she's buried with him.
yeah,
And we kind of go there, but then there's also a place in Lancaster called the Garden of Hope, which is very special to us, and I'll touch on that as well. But during the process, I mean, I remember every single stage of that summer. And the job thing for me is, you've gotten to know me. You can imagine what toll that took on me as well,
yeah,
right? Because you don't have a job. But the truth is, it couldn't have worked out better,
yeah.
um, because I don't know what I would have done. We were at the hospital every single day.
I say
And
have to
so
show up to work the next day. Like,
yeah, so you don't show up to work the next day, and in this case, I didn't, fortunately didn't have to. But we drove to the NICU every single day for 45 minutes, every day 45 minutes back and forth. And
yeah,
because she was down near Philly, because it was a level 5 NICU, and so that was the only place that could hold her. But we were lucky because she had an amazing NICU stay, but it wasn't without challenges. I remember they do basically a brain scan, and somebody with that gestation. So just to give you I said that she was born early. She was 29 weeks and 4 days.
wow,
Okay.
yeah,
So my wife actually was admitted to the hospital. And then we were fortunate because she was able to kind of get a couple shots. And then my daughter came out, like they accelerated her lung production, and she came out breathing on her own, which is honestly, it's a miracle. Like you don't hear of it, you don't see of it. But then about a week in, when they did her initial brain scan, anyone born at that gestation, as we hear and understand, usually has brain bleeding, which can cause long-term effects, right? And although I spent most of my life professionally in healthcare, this was not a segment I was ever a part of or really wanted to be a part of.
yeah.
I got thrust into it. But then we didn't get the results of the brain scan for 6 weeks.
Oh,
They gave us the initial results, and they said that they noticed things okay, but then like enlarged ventricles. So then they you'd think that maybe she had hydrocephalus. So for 6 weeks, we didn't know what was going to happen there either.
Yeah.
Uh, Lots of process. We had a very supporting and loving family, and a lot of people came by every day. But it was my wife, and it was the love of two really dedicated, committed parents.
Yeah.
And so now, like everyone else, we pour everything into our daughter. Her name is Raylan. She's amazing, and she's very blessed. She's very bright. But I would tell you that she's stronger than any person that I've ever met. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think part of it for me is, and you and I have talked about my journey and this business and going into the entrepreneurial path. I mean, everything I do is for her, because she didn't get a fair start in life. Spent
Yeah.
her first 2 months in a hospital.
Yeah. Did you, so you said you lost your job 2 days after?
2 days before she was born, but the day after my wife was admitted to the hospital. So I got laid off. It was a corporate restructuring and
Yeah.
sort of given 30 days to go find a job within the company.
Did you like immediately think to yourself, like, because like you said, and I'm hearing you share this, and I'm like, yeah, what a blessing in disguise. Like, hard to say that, like, because you're like, I lost my job, and like now I got a kid, and we're going through this tragedy. To be like, oh, it's a blessing in disguise. Like, hindsight's 2020, but really at the time, like a blessing in disguise. Did you take it like that right away, or was it kind of like a like a second smack in the face that you were like, come on, like, is this really happening? Or was it kind of like, okay, this sucks, but like, oh, you know what? Like, this is actually a blessing because now I don't have to worry about going into work anytime soon, and etc.
I definitely got smacked hard,
Yeah.
just by the news. And, anytime that happens, you get an ego hit a little bit, and you just, you're a provider and you want to,
Yeah.
I'm driven, and my professional life and work defines me in a big way. But I do remember sort of early on saying, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And this gives me the opportunity to be there when I wouldn't be able to be otherwise. I
Yeah.
mean, like if this happened in a normal situation, I would have taken 2 weeks off and whatever,
Forced your way back through it.
forced my way through it. And candidly, like I did find another job within the organization through the restructuring. And I did start while my daughter was still in the hospital, probably
Yeah.
a couple weeks while she was still in there. And so, man, that was incredibly tough. But, we celebrate two really important days. We celebrate the day she was born, and then we celebrate the day that she came home.
Yeah.
We actually have a really cool picture, when she turned 5. We've got like the three of us when we first brought her home with a picture, and then we've got it 5 years later, like us holding her also by her, and it's really special. But man, that experience, it teaches you so much, and I keep saying it, but there is no playbook for it.
Yeah. That,
You
and
kind
like
of hustle through the way you can.
I'd say, and every day is like a gift. I
For
just
sure.
what I shared something the other day, and someone commented, or like, we still have plenty of time to like accomplish our goals. And you hear that all the time. And like initially you're like, yeah, we like, of course we do. Like, I'm 40 or probably like right around my age. Like, we got a whole life. And then I was snapped back into it. And my response was like, no, like we don't. Like, the reason I go so hard every single day is because like this could be it. Like, this could be the last time I wake up in the morning and get to see my family. And like please God, no. Like, and I hope I get, another 40 years, 50 years with them and stuff, but like, you don't know. So like to take that for granted is a sin in my books. And like, it's the ultimate lack of appreciation and respect for a higher being and like being alive on this earth. And I think what you went through, man, like like you have, like you said, you're still processing it. Like, I would imagine that's something that every single day is like, you're getting stuff done and like you're focused on what needs to happen, but like right behind that or right in front of that is this keen awareness of like that loss that you experienced, and like you take nothing for granted. And like, but like you said, with your 8.5-year-old daughter now, like what a gift that is. So like, I would imagine just like, that's tough, man. Like your story is, because sometimes you like, someone loses a kid and then time goes by and then they have the next kid, so there's like a clear separation. And not to say it makes it any easier, like loss is loss, but to be like, to look at your daughter on a daily basis and be like, there could be two of you, like, and they're not like
Yeah,
there could and should be, but like, the
no,
initial idea from God was like, there's going to be two of you, and like,
for
there
sure.
you are, and like, but there's not one beside you. Like, I can't even
We
fathom.
we always, my wife and I always say that our daughter Raylan, she's so busy, she's so driven, she like lives for two kids, and I
Yeah,
genuinely believe that.
yeah,
She definitely has a lot more of me in some ways. So my wife kind of jokes in some ways that our other daughter was more chill in the womb and
yeah,
more like her. But I mean, we try to celebrate, we try to recognize it, we don't forget it.
yeah,
We have her name with like a nice little poem framed with her footprints
yeah.
framed above our daughter's bed.
Okay,
Um, we always celebrate that. We always celebrate kind of them together. We every single year release a balloon on her birthday. Our
awesome.
daughter writes like a message to her and release a balloon. And then I'll share with you after. Maybe you could share with the viewers afterwards. Man, if you don't believe in a higher being or something from the universe, um, I've got, and this was early on, two unbelievable kind of events that happened for us.
Yeah,
I've got a picture, and it will blow your mind once you see it, and I'll share it with you. Where my daughter was right after she was one, and she's kind of standing there. We took a picture with some lemonade stand, and there is a full blown angel with wings in a female face looking exactly over top of her.
yeah,
And at first glance, you think it's like the sun shadow,
yeah,
which it is, but what I have a picture of it here. I'm looking at it right now as part of my why. I have it all written down, and that I have that like picture memorized. And then my daughter, my wife has a video on a monitor, baby monitor, that she was like, "What's in there flying around?" And it literally looked like a fairy or a butterfly on the monitor hovering above. And it's once you see something like that,
yeah.
whatever you believe in, it's hard not to believe in something miraculous and something greater from the universe.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to ask that question earlier, but I didn't want to because I didn't know if
Yeah,
I don't think it's an insensitive question, but like maybe it's an insensitive. So your other daughter knows she was a twin, your 8.5-year-old
yeah,
daughter. What age did you like
yeah.
how does she process that? Because like we're
I mean,
adults, we're grown people with like some experience and perspective and depth, and like kid's a kid, like at heart, kid's a kid, but like our 4-year-old's super wise. So I say that I'm like, yeah, but they're deeper than most adults. Like some are deeper than adults. Like what's her?
I think when she was three, maybe four. I mean, we talked about it from the beginning, right?
Yeah,
We do other daughter's name is Everly, so we do the elf on the shelf thing,
yeah,
right? And her name is Everly, always watching her, and so my daughter knew right away. It was never a secret. Um, but early on, and still once in a while, but only child, and it hit me, I think, it hit my gut, and it just punches you when I think the first time she said, um, I had a sibling, like other
yeah,
friends. And
yeah.
that's hard to hear, man, as a parent. I can't imagine what it's like to hear as a woman, right? My
Hmm.
wife processes, she has to live with it every day.
Yeah,
She has to live with the fact that she carried a deceased child for 10 days, which I physiologically can't even imagine what that does.
yeah,
There's probably still and probably forever will be guilt
yeah,
associated with it. And she's seen some folks, and she basically has kind of been told like that whole time for her is a blur, but part of it is because she carries PTSD from it.
yeah,
It's a traumatic situation, and we've grieved in different ways. Um, but if you're okay, I'll just kind of quickly touch on it now.
yeah.
It's a place called, it's actually in Lancaster. It's in a Gap, called Garden of Hope. And
Okay,
I think it's the only one of its kind. And there's a website we can share afterwards, and we donate to it. And there's a Facebook page.
awesome.
So second Sunday of every June, they read all the, it's basically a monument, not a monument. It's like a little area space for deceased children, the stillborn, deceased children, whatever. And her aunt, my wife's aunt, got our daughter a nameplate there, so her name is there, and with the little butterfly thing, and we go there every year on their birthday. We went, but the first we went, and the only time we went as part of the ceremony was like after she was a year. We went to and we released her balloon, and as they read her name, and we've been there a couple times since then, a lot, obviously, actually on her birthday. Um, man, that was the first time that I really grieved.
Yeah.
A year later, maybe like there was no time otherwise. Like there was,
Yeah.
you got to get go. You got to be for the daughter. You got to be, you know, you got to make sure she's healthy. You got to keep going. But man, I couldn't stop crying that day, and like everything kind of in me released that day.
Yeah.
Um, and so to kind of in a roundabout way to answer your question, my daughter knows. We talk about it, but I think she'll go through different phases of her life with it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they were in a womb together, right? Like there's
Yeah.
an deep connection there that can't be fabricated, and
Yeah.
but in most ways, and every day, I mean, we're incredibly grateful and blessed. Like
Yeah.
we have a healthy child who's really talented, and most people, there's a lot of people out there that can't have that.
Yeah.
Uh, so in many ways, and that's kind of what I think has fueled us, just the gratitude that we have for our daughter.
Yeah. Dude. I, Man, I had a level of respect and admiration for you prior to this, and like that's why I consider you a good friend at this point, more so than a client. Like that's cool, whatever, we work together. But like, man, hearing this now, I'm just like that's why I love doing this podcast, because I hear this and I'm like this specific episode. Like I've had a lot of guests that shared powerful stories, but like this one like hit my soul the most as a parent, and then
Sure.
like the level of respect and admiration that creates in me for like who you are. Like you're a powerhouse, and like to know that you've been hit that hard by the universe and God, like again, like you said in the beginning, like he doesn't give us anything we can't handle. So I'm not saying like shame on
Sure.
him for doing this to you, like by any stretch of the imagination, but like it's still like it's a tough knockout punch to take by God and by universe, like plain
Yeah.
and simple. As a parent, like that's probably the hardest thing we could ever have to experience. So the fact that you came out of that, and then at the end of this conversation you say, all said and done, we're blessed and grateful. I'm like, man, like I wish every human being could be like that and be like you, because I'm like, you, like that is the case. Like yes, you have that loss, but go through every day like super, and you do, like, but like letting that sadness and that sense of loss dictate like I'm not going to accomplish anything in life, and woe is me, and like yeah, I have a daughter but I could have two, like, and
Sure.
this isn't fair. Like that could be, there's probably people out there that live that story and that is their reality, but like you've taken that tragedy and been like, yeah, like probably the worst thing I could ever have to go through, but I still have this and this to work for. And I mean, you've been good, which I think is incredible, and I want to see that photo. But like clear signs from the universe that, like, in God, that like, yeah, she's not here physically, but like she's 100% here. Like, and I love that you said, because as you were talking about your daughter, your 8.5-year-old, I'm like, it sounds like she's probably both of them combined as one, and like you pretty much said
She,
that, like that she's just like, you have such a powerhouse of a little daughter that like
she
she's
is.
like, yeah, like sister's gone, but like she's not gone. Like I'll carry that load. Like I'll put that on
Sure.
me, and like she's in me. So yeah, man, what a cool story for you to share, powerful story for you to share. I think there's probably some people that are going to listen to this episode that's going to resonate with and probably have experienced some kind of loss. And I hope they see that and hear that, and if they're struggling with it, say, okay, like, yeah,
Sure.
there's going to be a forever struggle that happens because of this
Sure.
instance in our life, but it doesn't define our future. And you're a perfect example of that like it doesn't have to define the
Sure.
future. It's part of it, but it doesn't dictate what happens next. You dictate what happens next.
There's a lot to learn from it too, man. I mean, it's for me, the Lankino Hospital, and I'll recognize them because it's worth. I mean, the NICU staff there was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Uh, we try to still kind of stay close with that network. My wife, prior to COVID, had planned to, and I think she still wants to go back there. And like, there's a lot of children that are born that don't have anybody that comes to the NICU to visit them,
Yeah.
unfortunately, right? And so she wants to kind of do this tummy skin to skin thing, and
Yeah.
hopefully get that done too, and support and be like an outlet for others. But the one thing I missed to say is, I know said there's no playbook, but the biggest regret that she has is that she never got to see the child.
Yeah.
We never saw it. We never held her. We never saw her. We never held her. But because in the moment we made the decision that we didn't want to like go through something traumatic when we were going to have a daughter born who we knew
Yeah.
was going to have a NICU stay. So she regrets that every day. It's hard. It's a tough one,
Yeah.
right? it's a
I
tough one
imagine.
because there's no guidance. There's probably some better resource that should be offered, but it's so personal to every single person and so different. In my mind, I think it's perfect that way because you can kind of imagine and envision her to be perfect, and she would have
Yeah.
been.
Yeah.
But there's real pain and trauma and still regret, even from her, for me too, right? I mean, there are things kind of, although my heart tells me that we probably would have been struck tough to handle two children just
Yeah.
because, but you kind of do it, right? And we would have been blessed and we would have figured it out like everyone else. But my wife, I think, is amazing and is strong here and has tried to be an outlet for others. And I'll tell you, I mean, this would have killed most people, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
mentally
No, I get it, brother.
and
Yeah.
spiritually, and she's been able to fight through it, and we're blessed for it. And but it's something that you will never forget, and
Yeah.
we'll never forget. But and again, for me, I can vividly remember every single moment of that week,
Yeah.
and almost that entire summer.
I believe that. And that, yeah, let's end with this too, man. Just like, I've never met your wife. Like I know her from the image that we put on your website and stuff like that. And like you talking about her a little bit, but the fact that she went through that and now is looking for a way to serve others that are either going through that or have gone through that to help them. Like you got, like, you and her are two peas in a pod. Like, I think obviously, like, you're the exact right person for each other. You're the exact right team to handle this tragedy with each other. And now to raise your daughter to, like, daughters, like, one through the other, but like have that experience. I admire both of you, man.
I appreciate it. Absolutely.
Wow. All right. So, geez, man, like, I want to say heavy because
Nothing,
it's like,
no better way to start off a Friday.
yeah, right. I'm like, I'm gonna go up and like grab my two little kids and kiss them, just like, which I do every day. But like, thank God for them, man, because it's like, and the two older ones are in school, so I already did that. But like, yeah, what a just a, like, again, a clear reminder to can hold tightly what you love and who you love and be grateful for it. Because I say it, like, I have a friend who's going through like in vitro for like the 80th time trying to have a kid, and I post stuff about my kids every day, and like part of me like has a little bit of like a tiny guilt of like sharing my pure joy and happiness with because of my family. And like I've been so incredibly blessed, and it was very easy for us to have for us to have kids and be blessed.
Sure.
So then, like, I'm fully aware of like how blessed I am. But then you hear this story and you're like, God, like, even another clear reminder of like how blessed we are. And like, you had that tragedy, but you still are like, I'm blessed and grateful for it. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, I love you. I love people. I love like people who fight through tragedy and come out stronger and want to help other people. So thanks for sharing that, man. I didn't, like I said, anytime I start these episodes, I'm always like, I wonder what I'm going to get today. And like, I definitely was not expecting that. I had no idea that it was even part of your story. So thank you for sharing it. It takes a lot of courage to share that. And I think you're going to touch some people and help some people.
I hope so. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, man.
Really do.
Where can people find you online? I'll share the LinkedIn is the best place for you personally. I'll share that link in the show notes.
Correct.
And then
it's probably the best place for me personally. You could share the Facebook site,
our websites and stuff.
Websites for our business, and
okay,
we're right here local in Lancaster, and support our community, doing everything we can. And fortunate to do what we do every day, because in some ways, well, in every way, we help people every day.
Yep.
Every single day, we're helping somebody with a tragedy restore, one of the most traumatic things that's happened to them in their life, and when they've experienced some sort of emergency loss at their home or their property.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Cool, brother. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, man. If you watched this episode and you got something out of it, which if you're watching it, I know you did, please share it with a friend or family member, especially if it's someone who experienced something similar to this guy. I think the attitude and the energy he shared, it can absolutely change someone's life. So thank you for watching. Oleg, thank you for being here, brother. I appreciate all of you. And
Thanks,
I'll
man.
see you on the battlefield. Yep. Have a good one, everybody.
Appreciate it. Thank you.